am so excited to hear you guys today. We have storytelling, poetry, spoken word, and anything else you can think that can fit in between. Marc will be playing his originals in between each performer. We also have micro stories in the back, so if you have not seen those already, those were not sign-up sheets. You can participate in this event. All you have to do is write down a couple sentences in response to the prompt, and then I will read them for you anonymously in between each performer as long as they last. So I am so excited to have you guys here. I think we should get the show on the road. And I'm so excited to welcome our first performer. I just wrote this piece half an hour ago. This performer shares. You can find them at Gentle Puck on Instagram. Please put your hands together for Bree. Bree, come on up.
First person, no pressure. I did have to edit this piece because of the younger ears in the audience, so might not have that oomph that it would have had, but it's all right, I'll make it work. All right. Whoops, sorry. Didn't mean to inconvenience you like that. Pardon me if I stepped on your toes while brushing past you as you stood in the way of my destiny. My apologies if I hurt your feelings when I told you to stop minimizing mine. My bad if I made you feel like you were losing control as I took the reins to my life from your hands. Sorry, so sorry. I'm sorry if I... You know what? Screw this. I'm not sorry that you were put in your place when I finally found my voice, lost and scared and all alone within the confines of the darkness in your heart, and that I set it free with a key that was engraved with the words screw and you, and that I set flame to the walls of thorns that grew around my own heart so that it could beat and love and want. I'm free. I won't apologize for choosing myself for once in my damn life, for deciding that my needs and my well-being were more important than your fragile masculinity and crocodile tears. I'm important, I matter, and I don't need you to be enough. I'm free, and never again will I feel bad for taking up space, for laughing loudly, and loving strongly, and existing unapologetically, and once again, screw you for ever making me feel like I had to apologize for simply being me. I'm no longer under your control. I'm free. So if you're waiting for an apology, you're SOL, pal. Because I'm done apologizing for your insecurities. I'm not sorry. I'm free. I'm free. Thank you.
We have a story from our next performer, and I would love it if you, I haven't had time to read the micro story, so you guys will get one later, don't worry, get excited. So please put your hands together for Chitan. Whoa!
Right, so my story is called The U-Turn. So it was a rainy, foggy kind of day in Buffalo, New York. We were planning to kill a few hours at Niagara Falls before having Indian for lunch and hibernating in the afternoon. We were there for my wife's graduation at SUNY Buffalo, and the fall seems like a good detour. It was my overconfidence. Buffalo, I thought I knew you. That fateful day there was some construction going on in my regular parking spot. I followed the directions of a police officer but later realized he was a parking attendant wearing cop-like reflecting clothing to drive traffic to his parking garage. I refuse to reward such deception. I will follow my GPS and find an honorable parking spot, I thought. After a couple of GPS reroutes, I found myself at the entrance of a bridge. Something didn't feel right, but at this point of time, there was no going back. I tentatively plodded my way through the bridge when all of a sudden I saw that there were bilingual signs in English and French. Oh no, could it be? The beverage you are about to enjoy is extremely hot. Oh, thank you Starbucks for letting me know that the hot coffee I ordered is hot. I mean, even Moscow checks your receipts before leaving, there must be some kind of safeguards against accidental international travel. You cannot leave the country just like that. Apparently, Americans can. With an American passport, people can just whisk past immigration in Canada, Europe, and countless other countries. But I had some explaining to do. All I have to do is convince the folks on the other side that there has been a mistake and take a teeny tiny U-turn to come back to my plan. Canadian immigration officials were very friendly. Don't worry, they said, just take a U-turn here and head back. I mean, wow, that was easy. Now back on the American side, we were asked to park our car and go upstairs to immigration. But literally 60 seconds back, I was in America. I put on a tiny protest. Go upstairs, came the terse reply. Now the worrying part was that I had my driver's license, my wife had a student ID, and my mom and sister had no identification whatsoever. To compound the issue, the notoriously difficult to obtain visas were also missing along with our passports. Esoteric forms like DS-160 flashed through my mind, where to get the visas I had to answer peculiar questions like, are you coming to the US to practice polygamy? Have you ever been directly involved in the coercive transplantation of human organs or bodily tissue? Oh no, this is not going to end well. My mind already started racing with plan B. Quit your job, call your friends, sell your car, sell your belongings, go back to India. Wait, but how do I go do that without a passport? What do I say in my company's exit interview? I'm leaving this esteemed organization because I unknowingly crossed an international border and now they are not letting me back in. So immigration office upstairs was like a starting can. Imagine the DMV experience on steroids. I took my ticket and all we had to do is wait. So after 3 excruciating hours, it was finally our turn. I had to explain to the immigration official that it was all a big mistake and there was literally no warning that I was leaving US soil. I expected more for a country which warns me that hot coffee is indeed hot, or ice may be slippery, or that water may be wet. After answering a barrage of questions, he said something very bizarre at the end. If I show up in your country without a passport, you will cut off my fingers? I wanted to assure him that India does not have any clandestine finger-cutting operation and all our collective global fingers are safe. But I did not want to drag this interaction even a second longer than it had to. Okay, we are releasing you, he said, thrusting 4 release slips into my hands from the port of Buffalo. Release? As in the bridge was a giant mousetrap to catch people like me? I wish one day I gathered enough bravado to waltz past international borders like my fellow Americans. But till that day, as a proud citizen of a finger-cutting nation, I prefer to keep a 100-mile buffer zone. Thank you.
I have to say, as our second performer, you're one of the 3rd people that I've ever seen properly move this mic stand. So most people, they start going like this and then like the whole thing starts to wobble. That was very suave. All right, we got our first micro story. Tell us about a plot twist. Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. I wrote a story once that everyone in my writers group thought was fine, except one guy. The cranky, often inappropriate guy. He said, once I realized it was a comedy, I liked it. It was not meant to be funny, but I rewrote it as a comedy and later sold it. We have professionals here. All right, up next to the mic, please put your hands together for a poem from Linda Lanza. Linda, come on up.
A little backstory on the poem. Back in the day, I was invited to contribute a poem to a literary journal. The theme was childhood, and the publisher had published my work before, so she was familiar with my style. And it was an invitation. So I wrote this and sent this to her, and a couple weeks later, she sent me a rejection letter. So that's my whoops. I'm going to share it with you tonight. It's called Stranger in Paradise. In our house on Route 62, I was 5, and my phone number was 26. Operator, I'd say, I want 26, please, if I wanted to call my mom from Grandma's house. It was an early lesson in looking at things forwards and backwards. Sheet metal, roofing, plumbing, and the smell of hot tar. My dad's business out back of our house. 2 screen doors led off the kitchen, one toward the shop, the other to the side yard, and the flowering dogwoods, the maples, the purple lilacs with leaves shaped like hearts. Our neighbor Leo kept worms in a coffee can of discarded coffee grounds for his fishing trips on weekends. He helped Dad solder lead pipes together for a swing set anchored in cement between our 2 homes. At night, if I laid my hand on that soft mound where my thighs came together, stayed quiet and still, and thought about swinging on the swings as high as I could go, I could make that weightless tingle in my whole body happen again without the swings. Friday nights, it was the Gillette Cavalcade of Sports on TV, with Dad and his buddies playing poker at the dining room table. The smell of beer and the da-da-da-da-da-da-da theme song would be stuck in my head when I went to sleep. Sometime in the night, my mother might find me shivering at her bedside, in from a sleepwalk out to Dad's shop, and finding the door locked, awakened outside under a clear moon. Sometimes I sleepwalked to Rick's bedroom doorway. Mom would find me curled in the threshold in the morning. I played with a round silver music box that wasn't really silver. It played Stranger in Paradise and spun around in a slow circle when I wound it on the bottom and opened the lid. My sister Robin scribbled blue pen on the face of my ballerina doll, and Rick and I played cowboys and Indians in the yard. He stabbed my bare foot with this penknife when I was roped to a pine tree in our version of a Wild West carnival act. At a square wooden play table, I pretended I could write. I salvaged Mom's discarded grocery lists and notes from the trash, used them as model sheets to copy with a pencil line after line of loops and humps. If I closed all the bedroom doors, I could make a small dark place in the hallway. Slits of light came in from under the doors. If I laid on my back and stared at the ceiling, I could feel the earth spinning. In the yard, I pretended everything had a name and a place. With my face in the grass, I named the blades and watched them extend outward over the neighborhood like a huge family, reaching all the way to the sea. We had a Cocker Spaniel named Bumper, but it was Lady, our boxer, who was killed by a car in the road beyond the tall pines, sheltering our tiny house that seemed so big when I was small. Over the fireplace in the living room was a mantle, and I learned the word when we hung Christmas stockings. In the center was an arch-shaped wooden clock with a convex glass cover that I could open with a tiny brass key attached to it by a ribbon. I could move the hands to speed ahead or turn back the time. The clock's long gone, but if I stay quiet and still, I can do it without it.
Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. I thought I was going to be fired for not having good transportation, but my boss wound up giving me his truck to use to get to work. All right, up next to the mic, we have a poet. In the little description box in which it says anything else you'd like us to know about you, they added 1998. Please put your hands together for Samir.
Good evening. So, you decide whether this is a whoops moment or it isn't. 1998. I always look back fondly on 1998 for concluding significant professional and artistic achievements, but also finding finally a balance which lasts forever. A centering of the soul beyond both reason and logic, a stability which comes from an entry to Turiya, knowing that eternal bliss is within reach, and a new existence is just beginning. This was the year when I was finally ready to tie the knot, a very prominently felt time when you finally feel ready to settle down. And at that precise moment, she walked in. We had a conversation. If she had sat down, I would have asked for a hand. She chose not to, and the moment was gone. When I look back now, it all seems somehow for the best. An immediate attraction, however magical it would seem, would have lasted probably about 6 weeks before the cultural misfits began to emerge in concrete bits. From religious beliefs to who does the daily chores, for who does the groceries to the level one should imbibe at a party, what to name the kids and how to bring them up, how much money is the right amount to be spent on various things. The boy who believed in eternal love would have been in for rude disillusionment. Would a separation have emerged for the possible daily fights and the cold strife and intent to hurt each other with grave words? And if there had been kids, what of them if the marriage failed to work? You can't split them in the middle as the romance ends. Spread the hurt as the children who would have become a guilt. It seems better a nostalgic 1998 than an awful new millennium. Women can be that way more prescient than men. Did this all flash through her mind as she left me sitting there, making a decision which was for the best? Verbal impulses can lead to a lifetime of regrets. As I stand on the verge of yet another year, I count my blessings as I take in the innocent ramblings of my beautiful children as they chortle over a television serial and lay the ghosts of 1998 to bed, letting that year be finally over. Thank you.
This person has fun handwriting. Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. Saw an empty house in the woods. I was wearing my red dress. Scared, but tried, I ventured inside. An entire wall of books greeted me inside. It's like the beginning of like a horror story. But everyone does that, where they're like, this is a bad idea, you should stop doing this. And then you're like, but I just need to know. All right, up next to the mic for yet another poem. Please put your hands together for Christina. Christina, come
Okay. This is called Jackson. My mom has a best friend called Kendall, a full-bodied blonde with glass skin and a signature fragrance, fruity with a woodsy musk. Her breath is acrid, metallic. They've been together since my mom was a teen. She's been with her through her wedding, family deaths, and all 3 pregnancies. Joins us for every meal, dinner, lunch, and sometimes breakfast. Kendall is a terrible influence, turning small accidents into molehills of instant regret, whispering in her ear that she never said that, don't believe them, encouraging outbursts that would make a teething toddler second guess. As I got older, I found my own Kendall. I thought it would make me understand the benefits to having this kind of best friend. She made me fun and witty and was great at parties, but her alluring charm wasn't worth the headache she gave me. Real friends don't encourage you to behave so badly. Kendall has grown bitter with age. She sunk her nails into my mom's throat and replaced any fleeting joy with senseless rage. Her whispers have turned into defiant screams of gibberish, an attitude sour, black licorice. Created a household full of thick hostility, made her lose her jobs, friends, most of her family. Drink responsibly.
This is an announcement that is not my announcement or the Arts Council's announcement. One of our dear friends who will be gracing this stage this evening is working on creating a new open mic in Cranbury, New Jersey, at the Cranbury Library. That's cranberry, the word cranberry. If you are ever in that area and you are so interested in joining that endeavor or showing that you would be interested in that endeavor, our dear friend William, who will be speaking later on, he's got a great piece of paper over there. You can pop your name on it, show that there's some interest, and we can get some more creative things happening. Yeah.
You're awesome.
Oh my God, thank you. Yeah, well, I can give you a microphone. I can say whatever I want. You know? You guys have no idea. This could just be like a 2.5 hour long comedy show, just me. Like, you know, you're so lucky. All right, up next to the mic, speaking of comedy shows, please put your hands together for Woody Garski-Wilson.
Okay, hi, I'm Woody Karski-Wilson, and I'm teaching a workshop geared towards presenting a piece to story in verse. So it's geared towards people who have never presented before, but it's not limited to them. Everyone can benefit. I was told there's a flyer on the back there about it. I completely ignored the flyer because I'm like, God, I don't need another flyer in my life, so I'll see it probably after you do. Anyway, it's Thursday, September 5th, 5:30 to 7:30, somewhere in this building. The cost is $20 a person, and see the Princeton Arts Council website or look at the flyer there to sign up. Now, here's a science fiction tale relevant to today's world, and while it seems to veer towards inappropriate sex, don't worry, I stopped soon enough. It is PG, whatever her age is. So, Bad Company. They were an odd race on a limpid world of pastel beauty with 3 limbs each to handle stuff and a bio-roller assembly underslung moderated by the inflation of a lubricated rail. It shoved them this way and that without fail, liberally doused with possibly piss, though we didn't ask. And it was uncertain if they could love, feel, or kiss, but chances were it's as simple as this. They were just another form of sentient life, so they could show affection and love and the whole panoply of what we once thought was purely the human domain, our overwrought fear of not being unique, finally left behind, and anyway, who cares? They made really cool art buildings. We called the people Stira after the wheeze, hiss, exhalation they made every 2 minutes and 45 seconds, and the one who seemed to speak for them all was called Thumpy. She was a little deflated, a bit small, but no fool all told, and perhaps old, hence venerated. Anyway, we liked their style. Very straightforward, but too honest. Too damned honest. I sat back, relieved that the rest of the team was gone back to the ship, and it's rude to leave sensor drones, so nothing recorded a word except our brains, and company policy forbade going into our brains unless it was for a deadly accident investigation. Those are rare. Anyway, who cares? Invade my dead brain to save another life down the line? That's perfectly fine. This was not fine, though. What Thumpy said should not have been said, not unless he, it, she wanted their entire race, all friends and family, all culture, dead. For he, it, she seemed not to understand that for 5 years, 5 long, rough frontier years, all human contact was governed by extractor VPX law. Not the nice, humane laws we all followed back home, like, in Princeton. For that, shed tears, because the mega corporation extractor proceeds wherever we roam, a lucrative black stain curse. Think late-stage capitalist predator filth, then think a whole hell of a lot worse. A string of smoking corpse worlds can attest that being judged a badass is best, for being a race best left unpoked is the best defense of all. That was a favorite insider joke, but not the funny kind. I assessed the sight without turning my head and blew out a sigh. Thank all the gods. which protect those who deserve it. No one else had heard the comment, and I prepared to enlighten and shock Thumpy, hopefully scare the lubrication rail piss out of the dear non-human, so he and she would smartly shut their mouth about truths best left unsaid. Yet before my mouth could open, what should enter my ear like a foul, oily poison but these words: "You realize that not only am I rich, but you will be too. And I don't know your wildest dreams, but consider them as of this moment fulfilled in fond and firm fullness." That from Deborah Rach Hawk, slim and elegant, but not a nice person, due perhaps to the minor fact that she was the planetary agent for Extractor VPX, and her nickname from previous missions was the Goddess of Death. As always, she left me breathless, shivering in fear, with a cold like deep space reaching out and invading me through my ears into my brain, where horrid curled the future filled with smoking ruins and dead stero cities, as mighty, horrible extractor machines would rip this fair planet apart. "Rich, you say?" I croaked out as casual as could be. She kissed the outer shell of my ear and I winced. "Don't play coy. You know the deal. First discovery of inability to resist. It's legend. It's beyond the gold at the end of the rainbow. It's better than the best sex you've ever had. It's sex!" I blurted out, gagging. The thought, I hope we're alone. It's you and me." She snorted and stood straight. "I didn't think you were attracted to me." "I always feared you," spoke I the truth, if by fear you substituted the word loathe. She considered I as gleaming. "Fear's good, little boy. Shall we take a walk?" The view, the water below, it excites you?" she asked, trailing an ice-cold finger down my cringing cheek. "It serves a purpose," I murmured, fly caught in a web and considering the clacking mandibles as they closed in. She looked around for Thumpy. "Well, he wandered off, the little shit." She laughed in that unbelievably unendearing way that turned my stomach. Yes, Thumpy had vacated the scene. They would not have to hear me sell out their world. Don't judge me, dear reader, for everyone, everything I could ever want without bound. All my friends and family out of indenture, never have to work again. A lifetime of travel, my own personal starship, any woman or man or in between I desired. I swallowed hard and led her to the edge of the ravine the locals avoided, fear of heights. My head swam, I looked over, always afraid of falling, so careful as I took that sexy, horrible creature in my arms, kissed her full upon her spider mouth, then let go her arms and shoved her backwards with all my might and revulsion to watch her fall and flail in eternity before hitting the rocks below. Knowing brain recovery was impossible, dead is dead, but splattered is worse, and so she was. Whoops. Did you catch that whole theme thing there? I vomited for 10 minutes until I dry heaved with thick tears in my eyes, cleaned up, walked back, prepared my great lie. My God, she just slipped. I reached out. It was so horrible. I threw up. See the evidence? Right there is where I lost my lunch. Time passed, and so in 5 years, Extractor VPX withdrew its machines unused, aiming for its next potential victim. War hinted of deep and dark secrets best left unwoken from a race who's only recently passive but psychotic when aroused. Their war machines linger well hidden, yet potent. These are great and fearful myths about the Steros, very convincing. I'm proud because I crafted them. Now I return to Earth, where I will spill my guts about that bloodshot corporate stain that hold back to the Stone Age, those Extractor VPX bastards who should have been left in the past. I will also tell the truth about the goddess of death I murdered, but I will tell it standing on the side of a very tall bridge where, terrified of heights, I will admit my crime, then let go to fall screaming to my fate. Whoops. See, that was twice. Remembering Thumpy's words, the words that doomed them for a naive pacifist. "We read your histories," he and she had said. "Why did you people kill so long after it became unnecessary? Is it something you somehow enjoyed?" There is, of course, no good answer to that question.
Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. That one time I found out I was queer? Oh yeah, that was nice. I just want to mention to any attendees and or interested listeners who joined us a touch late, if you are so interested in reading something or writing a microstory, you may feel free, you can pop back, just like my friend over there is doing right now. Jot your name down in your neatest handwriting, as I am dyslexic, and just slip it on over to me. We do allow spontaneous additions, so if you are so spurred to be additioned, feel free. All right, up next to the mic, our next poet writes a smiley face. And in the anything else you'd like us to know about you, they say in gorgeous handwriting, I am 8. Please put your hands together for Aria. Aria, come on.
Takka in Hindi means crash. This is the story of my aunt and me. I know how to bike. When this story took place, I knew how to bike. My aunt did too, but not as good as me. We were in California at that time. We went to a park one day. Me, my cousin, and my aunt all had a bike, and we were biking at the park. We were riding our bikes all around each other. My aunt could ride her bike really fast, and she could spin and do lots of loops and cool tricks. She, as far as I was concerned, was really fast. I didn't see her stop once when we were there. Well, when she was upright at least. Now, she was on top of a hill one time, and I was at the bottom of it. The hill was very slopey, and she didn't see me. She decided to come down that hill, and only saw me when it was too late. She tried to stop her bike. She tried to pedal or stop or turn around, but it was too late. She crashed into me, and I fell below her and 2 bikes entangled on top of me. Yes, she could swim. Yes, she could bike really fast, and she could spin and do all sorts of cool tricks that I can't explain. But she couldn't stop her bike even when she had a couple of minutes to think about it.
Oh, yeah?
Do you want to do another one, or are you done?
I'm done.
You're done? Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. Recovering from my gambling addiction by winning the lottery. All right, up next to the mic, we have a storyteller yet again. They are the architect storyteller. Please put your hands together for Joshua Zinder.
Hello. So this story is in the mid-'80s, and my father was a very dynamic individual. He's a real character. He, around that time, was one of the founders of CopShot, and CopShot is an organization that provides, I think it's like $10,000 to help find somebody who shoots a policeman. And you know, whenever he talked about that, he talked about it from the point of view of his business and how the policemen, you know, help him so much and protect his business and all that. But there was always something strange there. And around the same time, he purchased a Jaguar, an XJ12, I think it was. It was a 12-cylinder machine, and he loved that car. And he spent hours driving the car. He loved driving. The car probably spent as much time in the shop as he did when he was driving it. And it had all sorts of problems, you know. window problems, engine problems, even the little speedometer thing on the dashboard would fall off numerous times. And so that was sort of, his thing at the time, and it was around then that he took me on college tours. And so we drove up to Cornell, we drove to Syracuse, and then we went to Rensselaer, and so my father likes to drive. He's in a 12-cylinder car. This car flies. And every place we go, he's really cruising. And I think we were between Syracuse and Rensselaer on the New York State Thruway. And he's going and he's driving, and he starts cursing under his breath. I'll save you what he was actually saying. But he starts cursing under his breath. And I said, "What's wrong?" And he said, "That speedometer thing fell off again." And he's flicking the dashboard. It fell off again. Okay, it fell off again. Huh. And then about 5 minutes later, we see a policeman going the other way on the New York State Thruway. And so he starts to slow down. And he slows down a bit. And then he goes, "Oh, whoops, there it is. There's the speedometer thingy." Next thing we know, the policeman pulls up behind us and pulls him over. And my father's like very calm. He says, "Never admit to anything, Josh." He was a lawyer. So, never admit to anything. You haven't done anything wrong. And okay, and I'm very nervous. I was a teenager. Around the time I learned how to drive, but policeman comes up, to the side window. My father rolls down the window, and initially he doesn't ask for his driver's license or registration or any of that stuff. He says, "Sir, do you know why I pulled you over?" And my father says, "I'm really not sure." He says, "Well, I clocked you going 130 miles an hour. I was going the other way. But that can't be right. When I finally pulled up behind you, you were going about 85. My father says, "I don't really think so. I think I was going around the speed limit." And he looks at my father, gets the license and registration, walks back to the car, stops at the back of my father's car, takes a long look. On that back of the car, there's a sticker that says "Cop Shop." Before the policeman gets back to his car, he turns around and comes and asks my father, what's this cop shop thing on the sticker on the back of his car? And my father explains exactly what the organization does and how important policemen are to him. And then they have a short conversation. Remarkably, they know some of the same policemen, some of the commissioners, some of the same people. They know them. And at that, the policeman hands my father's license back to him and the registration and says, "Mr. Zinder, we need more people like you on the road. But you have to slow down." And at that, we took off down the road. And I turned to him and I said, "So now I know the real reason why the speedometer needle falls off all the time." Thank you.
Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. The plot twist that gave us the most improvement? Crop rotation. So when I first read this, I read it as us as in me and the person I live with, and I was like, that's an interesting story. And now I'm realizing it means us as in globally us. And at first I read it and I was like, wow, you must be a really avid gardener, but there's more to be discussed on that topic. All right, please put your hands together for some spoken word by our next performer. Aretha, come on up. Athira, come on. Athira, yeah, I hope I did this right. You totally did. Okay. Okay,
back and I absolutely had to get it out then. Today I feel like I'm a new person, but I'm just gonna do this anyway. Okay, it's called Life Lived Through a Narrative. I did that again. Living my life through my stories. Stories so real, I do not know where my edges end and the narrative begins. You see, my therapist tells me there's a term for this. When your mind cocoons you in the comforting wrap of a tale, buffers you from the world around you, a tale with quests of friendship and love, everything nice and warm, everything life was not. I listened nodding, vaguely remembering the nights when I was 12, laying on my bed, fervently praying to disappear from this world and wake up in my own creation. Fast forward 2 decades lived, I learned that some stories are my ecstasy, and as a recovering addict forever on guard, I keep my distance. Except, isn't everything lived in our heads? What is reality but the meaning you give to everyday events, actions, glances, and touches? Isn't everything a story, though you learn there are good ones and bad ones? Or as my therapist would say, how's that working for you? Well, I did it again. Our story was beautiful. Star-crossed lovers finding our way back to each other after 9 years it was meant to be. Except, they said, I moved on long ago. Oops, a small detail I missed there. A small, annoying detail called reality. So now I try to chain myself to the ground watching videos titled How to Move On, climbing indefinitely on the Stairmaster to seemingly reaching nowhere. But I fear I never learned to live on the ground. I don't see the lines I float. Unable to feel my body, what's real and what's not. I like the version of you in my head, a version that actually wants me. They say that innocence is a virtue to be broken by the story's end. Not in mine it lives on. Though I must say, I fear my stories as much as they comfort me. They consume me like a fire that demands more and more. Give us more, let us comfort you in return. Outside us lies the cold eternity of endless night. I know one way to live, and they are lying when they say you can see the light if you try hard enough, that you can outrun the night if you go fast enough. I love narratives so much that I sacrifice myself on the altar of my stories. Thank you.
So whenever you do that, it kind of is reminiscent of when there's like a big group of people at a table and you walk up to them and they all slowly stop talking. Like I'm like, oh, more, and then you're like, shh. You're just like, what did we do to deserve you? I think you're so good. Oh my gosh.
If anybody wants to do like an oil painting of me and Marc together, you should talk to me after this. I will get you. All right, tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. We broke up on my drive back. I found $2 in my cup holder. 2 words, Costco hot dog. The chicken bakes are like my favorite thing. Oh my God, it's so, who needs that? I do. All right, up next to the mic, our next performer wrote, I can make pumpkin chocolate chip cookies. Please put your hands together for William Beck.
Hi, everybody. Again, just very briefly, just to mention this, but thank you, Brass Rabbit, for plugging this. I am looking to do an open mic. Everybody welcome, LGBTQ friendly, in a Cranberry, probably Cranberry, and or East Windsor at their public libraries, Cranberry Library and the East Windsor. Hickory Corner Road Library. If you're interested, still in the planning stages, please sign up back there so I can get an idea and contact you if it's okay through email. So having said that, thank you. And whoopsies, there are just so many. So this years ago, I was going to an open mic at a place called Revolutionary Lounge, and they've moved. At the time, they had revolutionary themed food. They had a dish, avocado macaroni, and it was called Soylent Green. And so I'm with a friend, guys, tall, well-built. We're walking across the lawn, and we're just walking across the lawn to the place, and there's like what looks like I didn't really think about it, a very solid-looking wooden plank right where I walk, and my foot goes, whoops, I'm walking, and it goes, oh, there's a hole there. And this plank could not support my weight. And as I was walking, my leg went like 6 feet, or whatever this is, 4 feet, all the way, and my friend just grabbed me and hoisted me right up and just really prevented some very bad things from happening. So that's a whoopsie moment. Not really my whoopsie. It's really the place's whoopsie. And this is called falling into holes. Nobody ever expects to fall into a hole, so there's no way to prepare for it. Just ask Alice tumbling down forever and ever till she hits rock bottom. And there are many types of holes, aren't there? Black holes, sucking light and space and time, magnificent repositories of nothing, wormholes, they're close cousins, which may be highways in space-time, loopholes, the kind the IRS may catch you falling into, or the great abyss. Nazis as persecutors, persecuting and trying to understand what exactly happens when people turn into monsters and the abyss looks back at them. Or there's the hole I fell into that night, seemingly solid, a manhole cover like surface, and one foot sends me into pain, uncertainty, and cold, wet darkness, and unexpected assistance from a kind friend. Thank you. Got a couple of minutes, right? Okay. So I was on Nantucket, and I was staying with some friends, and this guy was sort of like a hippie type, always called himself a non-materialist, and after his first divorce, the net worth of all of his girlfriends went up every time. Maybe it was just, and he wound up marrying a woman who owned a $12 million whaling mansion on Nantucket. And I was staying with them, and they asked me to watch his wife's mother, who's in the front room. There was a kitchen. There were little dogs that were right off of the kitchen, and there was a child gate, so the dogs couldn't get out, and you would hear it. It was like a rusty thing. You would hear it if it opened. So I go out, and I'm doing things in the kitchen, and I'm opening up cabinets, and I'm cooking for this woman's mom, and do all that, clean everything up. The gate is, of course, locked. The doors can't open it and get out. The dogs can't open it and get out in the kitchen. I come back into the room to make sure her mother's okay. Go back out in the kitchen. A, all the cabinet doors are open, all of them. It's like, okay, oops, I made a mistake. B, the dogs are all out in the kitchen. The gate is open. Well, how could that have happened? I mean, I must have really made a mistake. There must be something happening to me, you know, whatever. Early Alzheimer's, something, I don't know. And so I go back into the living room. Now, there were calls. At the time, it was a bed and breakfast also. So I had to go back out in that kitchen 5 times. Every time, now I had closed the gate for the dogs. They were right off in the kitchen. Every time I came back out there, all of the cabinet doors were open. And the dogs were out. And I remember locking that gate the first time. And there was no way you would hear that open without any noise. So, well, what kind of mistake am I making, you know? So my friends come home, and I say, well, okay, this is what happened. I mean, is this me? Am I making a mistake? Am I doing something? What's wrong? And my friend says, oh, that's the captain messing with you. The captain? What do you mean the captain messing with me? So this, this is a whaling mansion, right? You know, this was at one time the whaling capital when there was a huge industry of the world, really. And the whaling captain who owned the mansion, built it, and he's still here. He still hangs around, and if he likes you, he'll mess with you. So he likes you. So that was my whoops, I guess, on Nantucket. So thank you very much. There's never a whoops coming here, and have a good night.
Really short microstory. There we go. I'm not going to enunciate like that anymore. I'm going to tell you guys a real short microstory before I introduce our next performer. So I have 2 cats. One of them looks like she just came out of a trash compactor, and she's very, very nice. And the other one looks like she came out of a magazine, and she's crazy. And when I say crazy, I mean it, and I mean it. And she's the best thing in the world. She's the best thing. Even if you don't like cats, you'll see this cat. This cat will be like, I'm the best thing in the world. And everybody is like, that's the best thing I've ever seen. But she's crazy. And she goes through phases of not being crazy. And I just had a blissful 6 months of her not being crazy. And then the wind blew too hard, and now she's like, I'm under the stairs, everyone step over me, I'm not moving, and I have to bring her food down the stairs. It's this whole thing. My stairs, by the way, there's the door. The door opens to stairs. So then there's also cat at stairs. And then you have to step over her. So it's the whole thing. I think I have this masterful idea that perhaps it's a food allergen. So I go on Amazon, and I go to the internet, and I do all of this research. And I find the best, most expensive cat food known to mankind. And I order 2 kinds of it, and it costs $6,000. And I wait till it gets to my home, and I'm looking at her at the stairs, and I'm going, I'm gonna fix you. And then I get the food, and I'm like, here's your food on the stairs, and I'll march back up, and I'll say goodbye. And she eats all of it, and they both seem great, and they both seem really healthy and happy and full. But the stairs are kind of dark, and she's still she's in them, and that's not where I live. I don't live in the stairs with her. So I have a vet appointment today. I take them to the vet, and the vet deals with the trash compactor one first, because she's very spicy around new people. She doesn't like that. So we deal with that stress, and then I open the bag, not the bag, the carrier. She's not in a bag. I open the carrier for the other one, the crazy one, and she takes one look at her and she goes, oh, fish. And I went, what? And she goes, fish. allergic to fish. I just bought her fish food, and the woman was like, yeah, that's what's wrong with her. She's allergic to fish. And I went, I just spent $6 million of fish food that's just all 100% fish, no grains or anything in there. And she was like, yeah, I think that's what it is. Yeah, go buy her. So then I spent $6 million on lamb cat food. So that is my whoops moment to share with you. Thank you. When I go home, she will be the first thing I see. Right there. I'll tell her all that you're thinking of her. All right, please put your hands together for our next storyteller, Suzanne. Suzanne, come on up.
Brass, thank you. I forget your name, I'm sorry. Marc, thank you. So there are a lot of whoopsies in my life, so I was really having trouble paring down which one I was going to talk about. So I actually came up, I'm going to do something unorthodox, imagine. So there's two stories, okay? One's kind of like funny and sweet, sortish, and then one is kind of like, you know, a little more melodramatic, a little more emotive, more like Princeton Garden Theater matinee, but like no subtitles. So, I want to hear like raise hands or whatever it is people do when they want to hear the happy one, or the, you know, more touching one, right? Right into your soul one. So happy? Okay, I guess we got some sad sacks in here. Or emotive? All right, good, okay. All right, so I gotta give me a second to get back into emotive. Hold on. Okay, all right, so in October of 1968, there was a man who owned a bar in West Hartford, Connecticut. And West Hartford's pretty schmancy, but this bar was not in the schmancy part of West Hartford. It was in the Elmwood section of West Hartford, which is like the area where maybe you don't go, right? Like the people that live in the non-schmancy areas, you don't have legs and can't walk to the other areas. But anyway, so it's in Elmwood, and the bar itself is on a corner, so it's aptly named the Corner Pub. And it is small and dark, and you can't see through the windows because they're that amber, so you can't really see who's inside. It's got dark paneling, and the floors are carpeted, but they're threadbare, especially in the areas where one would be walking, right? So, and some of the places you might walk in this bar might be to the gumball machine with gumballs from the beginning of time, or the jukebox with like old Patsy Cline, except it wasn't necessarily that old back in 1968, and the pinball machine, right? And everything was a quarter because quarters were like big time then. They were important, quarters. And really quarters were important when you went to the cigarette machine, which was also in the bar, and you put 5 quarters in, and you went boom, and the little cigarette pack would come out at you. And there were a lot of cigarette packs chunking in that place because it was full of smoke. And there were little plates of peanuts on the bar, so you could just dip your hand in because nobody cared about anybody's health. And there were mirrors all on the back of the bar, and in the middle of the bar, there was a shelf. And on that shelf was a little figure, inexplicably, of Laurel and Hardy. And the man who owned the bar looked a little bit like the chubby one, but I don't know which one that is. And the man who owned the bar was kind of dark like the bar, right? He told racist jokes. Like when the black waitress was feeding him coffee, he would tell a racist joke. He would, if somebody raced by him in the car and then beat him to the light, he'd like pull up to him and roll down the window and go, "Hey, you're a big guy, how you beat me to the light?" You know, he was that kind of guy. Like a not funny Archie Bunker. Everybody knows who that is. And so one night in October of that year, 1968, a woman walked in, and she was dressed like a sunflower because it was coming up on Halloween. And so she brought the light with her. You know, the light washed into this place, as much as light could wash into that little dingy bar. And the woman had grown up with some rather unsavory characters herself. So she was attracted to his dark. And what dark isn't attracted to a little light, right? So they were, off to the races, as they say. And very quickly they became an item, which is another thing old people say. And you'll hear a lot of that because I'm old. So about 4 months later, there was a baby coming. Well, neither of them wanted this baby. They weren't happy about the pregnancy. And neither was his wife, to whom he was still married. And neither were his two teenage sons. So nobody was really thrilled about this impending pregnancy, this joyous occasion. So it did suck that little bit of light right out of the room. And so the woman took to her friend's house in East Windsor, which was like at the time, it was like a mile, 10 miles away. It was really like the next town over. But she went and hid, because when you were, in 1968, when you were 24 and about to become a mother to a child you don't want with a man who's still married to somebody else, you hide. And you wear big flouncy shirts that just keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And you get your hair bigger so people look up rather than down here. And so this went on for some time, about 9 months, basically. And so round about November of '69, the woman was just flat tired of this pregnancy. But it was near to the end, so there was not much time left. So she went out to the grocery store and she threw herself belly down on some cement steps. I told you it was going to be pretty dark. And so she was hoping, I'm going to get rid of this pregnancy once and for all. Well, she didn't do that, but she ended up starting some bleeding. I'm going to try to keep it. Anyway, so the pregnancy was about to end, right? So she drove herself to the hospital in her yellow VW Beetle, and got there and said to the hospital, they got her right in because it was a dire issue. And they brought her right in and they said, okay, we're going to be able to keep either you or the baby, but not both. And she said, well, I mean me, because I'm not keeping her. I'm giving the baby up for adoption. And so they said, all right. And they went about to save both of them because the baby was a fighter or something. So the baby was born, the woman's there, and the nurse brings the baby to the woman and says, oh, here she is, here's your beautiful baby. And the woman says, okay. And she says, what's her name? The nurse. And the woman said, I don't know, I'm not keeping her. I don't know what her name is. And I never thought of one. So the nurse says, well, you didn't find her on the steps of a firehouse, so you gotta give her some kind of name, And the woman said, well, what's your name? To the nurse. And the nurse said, Suzanne. And to this day, I am so grateful that her name was not like Mei Ling or Conchita Consuela, because I'd have had a lot of explaining to do my entire life. Entire life, which I'm probably not going to be able to do now, and y'all are going to have to suffer through it. But, because I'm like a little emotional now, so I probably can't even do it now. All right, so I've always wanted to sing. I swear to God, I have a good voice. Don't get scared. So I'm going to, bear with me, I'm going to sing a little song from a little movie, which is only the best movie ever made, best book ever written, best play. I'm not going to do it justice, but here you go. See if any of you want this. Ready? Okay. If you want this choice position, have a cheery disposition, rosy cheeks, no warts, play games, all sorts. You must be kind, you must be witty, very sweet and very pretty. Take us on outings, give us sweets. Sing songs, bring treats. Never be cross or cruel. Never give us castor oil or gruel. Love us as a son and daughter, and never smell of barley water. If you won't scold and dominate us, we will never give you cause to hate us. We won't hide your spectacles so you can't see. Put torch in your bed or pepper in your tea. Hurry, Nanny, many thanks, sincerely, Jane and Michael Banks.
Tell us about a time a plot twist changed your story for the better. I agreed to be my daughter's pom-pom warmer cheerleading coach, although I spent my teenage years with Mohawk and sneering at girls with pom-poms and megaphones. Turns out I loved my kid more than I disdained cheer. 10 years later, we took first place at nationals at Disney. All right. Got a lot of math people in this room, so I had to save this one for last. This performer writes, first thing I have ever written that did not involve math. Please put your hands together for Sai. Sai, come on up.
First time I've come on stage with music, so thank you. Just in terms of a plot twist, thanks to a friend, I started coming here 8 months ago. I've been coming every month. And the good thing that came out of it is finally, after all of these decades in my life, I started reading poetry, which I had never done. So a few months ago, I thought, why not? Let's give it a try. I mean, how hard can it be, right? And so after, I don't know, 2 or 3 months of struggling and coming out with 8 lines, I think I have a whole new sense of appreciation for everybody who comes here. Somehow, on the way here, I added another 4 lines. I genuinely want you guys to know I'm really, really sorry for this. The title is, whoops, I don't know how to title a poem. All right. Forever evolving since the dawn of life, from the earliest cells to the final strife, a change so predictable for millions of years, like an ancient machine with nuts and gears. If every cell in my body is replaced like clockwork, a brand new me, like a piece of artwork, which clump of cells in me didn't get the memo, refuses to change and forget, just can't let that go. The last 4 lines, I don't know, please give me feedback. You're like an addiction I can't seem to give up, for I'm an alcoholic working in a pub. I promise it's not for the lack of exertion, it's just because I like giving in to the intoxication. Thank you.
I have to say, as someone who has been hosting this for quite some time, we had a period of time where, especially in the dead of winter, everyone is sad and everyone's in their living rooms. where we were like, wow, our attendance is kind of down. And then it became the opposite problem, where there was just like too many people in here, and it was very nerve-wracking as a host because I kept doing the math, and I was like, we're gonna be here at 11:45, which you think is like, oh, it's so good, it's so popular, but then it was like, it's too much. So it is actually really refreshing to be here with a little bit more of an intimate group, and I'm really grateful that you guys all came out. I know that we're used to this room being pretty squished and packed, and having like this endless stream of consciousness and emotion, but it's actually been really nice to do something that's a little bit smaller and more connective, because we haven't had one of those in some time. So for our intimate August story and verse, thank you so much to all of our performers, our micro story writers. Thank you to Marc. I'm gonna buy us a painting. A really big thank you to the Arts Council of Princeton. You guys are gonna find us back here September 19th for the theme. So I asked myself, why not October 17th? And then I realized what was really going on. November 21st, open theme. I'm gonna pop this piece of paper up over on our little table so everyone may take photos or transcribe it. My name is Brass Rabbit. This is my absolute favorite part of my month. Thank you so much for coming out, and I hope to see you next month. Have a great night, guys.